Covington County, welcome to What's Up Covington County. With today it's Brother John, and I have two young ladies with me to help me. Well, they're going to do most of the talking, I hope. Lisa Seiler over here. Lisa Seiler. And Natalie Pinson over here. It's Pleasant Home, and I'm just nowhere. Anyway, they're from DHR here in the state of Alabama, and they're going to talk about a little bit about DHR, and then they're going to talk about fostering children in the class they've got coming up. About 4 people that are interested in becoming foster parents, and we're just glad to have both of y'all here with us today. And it's a very important thing we do in society. It's to foster these children and give them a chance in life. And first, if you can just, one of you can tell me what, the DHR, what is it?
Well, it's the Department of Human Resources.
Right.
We're a county office that is state administered. We have about 40 employees, an average of 40 employees in our office. We administer several different programs that help the needy in our community. Primarily, we have our food assistance program, which most people think of that as food stamps, is the general term. Our child support enforcement, we work in conjunction or partnership with the district attorney's office to seek child support from parents who do not have custody of their children. We have our public assistance and our jobs program. Both of those are primarily, the goal is for people to become independent. I talk with my hands. So
That's great. That's great.
So it really, the focus is independence financially, and while people may be receiving public assistance, there's also job training that's available, and we work really hard with those people to help them obtain employment. And then we have our child care program where we provide assistance for daycare subsidies. Many of our daycares here in town are part of that program, and people who are the working poor, low income, and need that extra help to pay for their daycare, they're able to come in and access that resource. Of course, those slots are much more limited than we would like, but it is a service that we have available. And then on our family service side, which is really what we're here today about, we work with children and families and adults who have been suffered some type of abuse or neglect. In our child welfare program, we have our child abuse and neglect investigations. We partner every day with local law enforcement agencies to investigate child abuse cases and to provide the intervention that they need to ensure that the children are safe. And sometimes that leads to foster care. We have ongoing protective services where children are still with their families, but they need that extra support. And then our foster care program. And foster care is a huge program in and of itself, but we provide foster care services, reunification services to families. Sometimes what brought the child into care may be something that we can work with the parents to correct, and we want the children to be able to return home as quickly as possible. And so when that doesn't work out, we have our adoption division where we work with our foster parents who are interested in adoption or even statewide adoptions. We have some children that are available for that. So it's a wide range. And then our adult service program is also a part of our agency, and we provide services to those who have been exploited in some way by their family members or neglected or abused. So that's really for our elderly population. That's kind of a snapshot, but it's a lot.
Well, you get to 30,000 feet, there's an awful lot of stuff down there, isn't there? This just occurs to me off the top of my head as we're doing this. It might not be a bad idea if y'all were amenable to it, to have a series of continuing programs on here where you can talk about what you do in the community, and to make the community aware of where you are as a resource.
I think that would be great.
We'd love to do it. I mean, we're not going to say, state of Alabama, please send us $1 billion for the program. It's not going to work like that. We'd like to work with y'all, and before we leave here today, if we can get some kind of something rough knocked out, and we'll
that
try
would
to
be
find
great.
the sponsorship for it, but I just think it's very important.
It's always great for the public to hear how many services we're providing and how many members of our community are able to take advantage of that.
Natalie, where are your offices here in Delusia?
We're always asked that, so I always describe it in between the LBW and Tabby D's, and most people know that. But we're just past LBW on the bypass, and it has a sign that says Covington County Department of Human Resources.
Right, I know where I've seen it, but I'm just glad you could describe where it was. So, well, folks, there are no armed guards on the outside or anything like that. I think you just have to walk in and somebody will start trying to help you from the time you go into the first door.
That's right.
Natalie, your specialty is everything, or is it just
It's not.
fostering or what?
I'm the resource supervisor, and I also supervise adult protective services. We call that APS for short, but part of resources is it has that adoption component, but it also mainly I'm working toward licensing and approving those foster homes for our county.
I'm trying to find somebody to adopt me. I want to go in. Bill Gates would be a
We'll add that to our recruitment.
yeah. I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just it would be good. Well, folks, we're going to try to divide this up into segments, and we've done about 7 minutes here. We'll be back in just a minute after these messages. Welcome back to What's Up, Covington County. I'm here with Lisa Seiler and Natalie Pinson from DHR here in Covington County. We've kind of given a rough overview of what they do, and we're going to try to work toward having a regular kind of a presence here from them on WKNI. But one of the things that we came here to talk about specifically, and I think this is the one that has the most nearby value, is a class that y'all are offering in foster parenting. Which one of y'all would like to address that?
Natalie, start with that.
Okay. I'm going to address it. The DHR offers foster parents training before they jump in to the foster parent program, and so that's 30 hours of training that, and I've always said it's kind of like teaching people to swim outside of water. Of course, the training continues once you have children placed in your home, but there is that 30 hours of training that's required for foster parents, and it takes every bit of that to learn how to raise children who have been through trauma, who have been abused or neglected. So that training will start Monday night at 6 p.m. and myself,
And where's that going to be?
it's at DHR in the training room. So we invite anybody who's interested in coming, to come that night, and you can contact me beforehand if you'd like to, and we'll try to get you set up to go to
How would they contact you, Natalie?
My phone number is 334-427-7933.
And folks, she will call you back. I can't say that about everybody.
Even if you want me to be on TV.
Yeah, I know you had to kind of go, oh man, that guy. It's what everybody does. But anyway, we'll go back to the class.
Yeah, myself and Mr. Charles Willis, he's been a foster parent for many years in Covington County, and he's had over 70 children in his home. He and Mrs. Willis have, and Mr. Willis is my co-trainer, so he brings a lot of experience to the table, and that's how all DHRs lead their trainings. They do one DHR employee with a foster parent so that you can get the total glimpse of foster parenting.
Mm-hmm. It's not all going to be academic then. It's going to be, this is what she says and this is how it worked out.
That's right.
The reality of it.
I would imagine that there are certain things that y'all find important that you need to teach in that class. What would those things be?
Well, Mr. Willis always says you wouldn't want just anybody caring for your children. He always starts out like that. So the things that the state requires seem sometimes to be complex, but In the end, people realize, yeah, we needed to have done this. We wouldn't want this. If it was our child, we wouldn't want just anybody taking care of our child. One of the main things that they have to apply to become a foster parent, it's a simple application. It's not lengthy. I think it's 3 pages. They put on.
Is there a charge for that?
There's not a charge. They put on there the information that's asked, just demographic information, household composition, as well as what brought them to want to foster. And then we also ask that they fill out a financial form. If you're taking care of another person's child, we want to make sure that you're financially stable and not, it doesn't need to be in the negative. It doesn't have to be great amounts of money that's over. We have some foster parents who, tightly budget each month, and we have some that have a lot left over and have a huge savings account. It just doesn't matter on that, but we want to make sure that they have enough to take care of that child's need.
Right.
Another part of that is the criminal history background check. We ask that our foster parents go be fingerprinted. That comes back to us, and the Office of Criminal History tells us whether there's too much past involvement with law enforcement or if there hasn't been any.
Right.
We have child abuse clearances. We clear to make sure that somebody hasn't been accused of child abuse in the past and
Right.
it was found to be true. I'm trying to think. There's home visits that are involved during the training. I make 2 home visits. The first home visit, we do family interviews. We do private interviews just to make sure everybody's on the same page in fostering. Sometimes you might have a husband who doesn't want to foster as much as the wife. Or
Right.
last time in my class, I had a husband who wanted to foster teenagers and a wife who wanted to foster babies. So we just try to, at first, get a picture of what the family is interested in, what they're capable of doing, and also just look at their physical home, and I let them know then, it's real low-key, real informal. This needs to be changed before the next home visit. You need to get this smoke alarm working and fire extinguisher. And then toward the end of the 10 weeks, we go back and we do another home visit and more interviews to make sure. And most of the time, people's viewpoints have changed about what foster care is about, why they want to foster, and what ages they even want to foster or adopt. And then we look at the home and make sure they've met all those requirements.
So let me just kind of get this squared away in my little pea brain. You will have, I guess, 30 hours of training over a 10-week period. Is this right?
We have.
Is that 3 hours
3
a
hours,
week?
yes, per week.
And that's all done prior to having a child brought in. And no child will only be brought in, A, after you've passed all the background checks and information, and B, that you've completed.
That's correct.
The course. Okay.
That's correct. And I'm trying to think, there are some other things. You have to be married for a year. You have to be married for 3 years to adopt, and to 1 year to foster. So there's.
But single people can
Yes.
foster, but if you are married, it has to have been for at least a year.
That's correct. We do have several single foster parents. So.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's about the end of one more segment, folks. We're going to stop for some commercials and we'll be right back. Folks, welcome back to another section of What's Up, Covington County. I'm here with 2 really fine people from DHR, Natalie Pinson over here and Lisa Seiler over here to my right, your left if you're looking at it through the TV. I hope that's the way it's working out, otherwise we got a big problem. Anyway, we've been talking about foster parenting and that kind of stuff, and that's a big topic. I mean, that's just like, it's not like an opening a can, that's like opening a warehouse.
It is.
There's just so many different reasons. What is the primary thing that leads to foster care? One of y'all, whichever one of y'all wants to take that.
I think that in some ways it's different for each family that has the experience, but here in Covington County, we would say the majority of our cases have a component of drug abuse. Either that typically or oftentimes the parents have become addicted to some form of drug, and they're not able to provide the care for their children anymore. They're not able to provide that safe and stable home. We work really hard to stabilize the parents, to seek relative placements, to identify any resource that's available prior to the child coming into care. But when there are no relatives and the parent is not able to take care of the child, then they will have to come into foster care.
Right.
And then at that point, we continue to work to stabilize the parent. So often, that time when their child comes into foster care, it really is the catalyst for change for them, and it really opens their eyes, and we're able to provide intervention and provide services like drug rehab and counseling and family support, that they are able to stabilize and to achieve reunification. And when they're not, we're also constantly looking for relatives. You know, we think about Covington County. I'm from Pleasant Home. I've always lived here. I know all my family almost is here, but so many of our children that come into care have relatives in every state around. And so we work hard. If there's somebody in Colorado, then we're trying to access that relative, because if they can't be with their family, we want them to have a relative resource. Right. And then if that doesn't work and those efforts aren't successful, then we look to other efforts to achieve permanency, like adoption and those things that we've talked about. So it's certainly a wide range of causes, but the majority of the time now, drugs are somehow involved.
Mm-hmm. And that's terrible. What you're teaching the course, Natalie? What are some of the topics that y'all will cover in that fostering course?
Most of the topics, now the state has revamped the training material to where it covers caring for children who have been traumatized in the past, who have that traumatic experience. And most of it's preparing these parents for that moment. So when most people come in, just like Lisa talked about, we go over the general things, what led them to foster care, even who generally reports abuse or neglect to our department and that process. And then as we get more familiar with the actual foster care process, we take them through the loss that children experience, and then the gains that they experience in foster care. Several people in the community may have seen children at their worst, but then they, over a period of time, may have seen children gain so many more attachments in foster care while maintaining that connection with the birth family. So that's another topic, is making sure they remain connected with the birth family, or whoever was their significant other that's always taking care of them. We want to make sure that those connections are preserved. One big component of those classes is managing behaviors. Most of the foster parents go away. I have a school teacher who said, you know, I learned how to use those just as effectively for my own children, you know, than just the foster children. But managing behaviors is an important part of that. And then we actually go toward what happens when that child moves home. And then that's actually called what we've gained and then losses. So it kind of flips that from the beginning. You know, we've gained a lot, but now we're going to another part of this, and sometimes that could be back with a birth family, or it could be adoption. So it's helping them through any change that these children are experiencing. And then just overall taking care of the foster parents, taking care of themselves. So it has a lot of self-care components, because you can drain that well pretty empty if you're not taking care of yourself and you're taking care of these children and your family. Mm-hmm. So we try to show them ways to offer them support.
Taking care of the caregiver.
Right.
Sometimes, right.
We hear a lot from our foster parents in the beginning. When they start to inquire, they'll say, maybe, I've raised 2 children, why do I have to come to a parenting class? But as they get into the class and you really start to see that parenting children who have been traumatized is much different. And the focus is on what you're going to experience with children who have been harmed in some way or neglected. And it's not a parenting class. I think sometimes people think that and think, wait a minute, 10 weeks. But they really, everyone that I know that's ever been through it has seen, this class has seen a true benefit, like Natalie said, with their own children, but certainly with our foster children, because that type of parenting is much different.
It sounds to me like an awful lot of this is not. It just may sound like an oversimplification. It probably is, but it's not teaching you how to parent a child. It's teaching you what to be prepared for.
Right.
It's reparenting,
Right.
is what we call it. Oftentimes children, if their parents have been on drugs and there's heavy substance abuse in the home, they're not going to have sat down at the kitchen table and eaten with forks, most
Right.
likely, and just those simple things. They're not going to have had a family time because that substance abuse has taken over that home.
Mm-hmm.
And so even our foster parents find themselves having to reparent table, starting out with the simple things and then reparenting the large things. So it's a wide spectrum of things that they're having to reparent.
So many of the times children, especially in sibling groups, the older child has become the parent of the home.
Right.
And so our foster parents learning how to become parents to a child who has been managing their household as well as they could at 10 years old.
That's
You know,
pretty tough sometimes, I think.
It can be very difficult, but this class helps to prepare them, and then they'll come back later and say, okay, I remember us talking about this, that it was going to happen.
Well, folks, we're going to take a break here, and we're going to be back in just a minute. Welcome back, folks, to the final section of today's What's Up, Covington County. Got here with us Lisa Saylor and Natalie Pinson from DHR. Their offices are here in Andalusia, over in between Tabby D's and the Walmart or LBW, and they're here today. They have a lot of things they can talk to you about, but here today we're talking about something that's kind of close to my heart because I've worked with children that are being fostered, and I want to tell you, the people that do a good job at fostering children are somebody really, really special. And if you're interested in fostering children out there, don't feel like that you've got to look into the mirror and see somebody that's ready for sainthood. You're not going to probably have ashes on your, body or something like that. They just need children, need somebody that can give them safety and love them and protect them and try to understand them. I know that's an oversimplification, but that's what you're trying to teach. And I've watched some real success stories with foster children. I've watched the parents grow, and I've watched the children grow amazingly. And it's just a good thing that y'all are trying to do. We talked about the classes. We talked about the, how somebody, the background, oftentimes gets people into foster care, those kind of things. And I'm sure that each story is just as different from the other stories. Although from my observation, there are some pretty common components in a lot of the stories. Let's talk about what happens when you have your outcome. We talked about what you're preparing for, and what do you perceive as a good outcome on that, Natalie?
Our number one goal is always reunification with parents, and so parents have to walk a fine line to be able to get their children back, and it's not an easy task. So I've always told my foster parents that it's kind of like we're a village and we're all helping each other. It's shared parenting, but in fact they're trying to parent the children, and I'm almost trying to model for the parent. I'm trying to be there for them and be that support. And so that's what our social workers do. Hands down, the first of that is definitely trying to work with that parent. And sometimes when those efforts fail, or we've maximized everything we can do to get to that point to help those parents, then we start looking. We don't want children to linger in foster care,
Right.
and they can't. The Alabama law says that they can't linger in foster care. So by at least 9 to 12 months, we're going to be looking at the progress that the parents made, and then if there hasn't been any, then we're going to be looking for a more permanent. And anytime a child can get permanency, it's a win for everyone involved in that, no matter if that's back with that family, back with a relative, adoption, whatever the outcome of the case is. If it's a permanent, safe environment for that child, then we want that to happen.
That's interesting. I think too many times those of us that are outsiders look at this thing as fostering it, only look at it from what we see. Well, they came and got those kids, and these other people took care of them, and I don't think we see what your ultimate goal is, your ultimate path, which is to work with the parents or parent, if they're not two there, to make them better people. I'm trying to remember what a fellow said one time. It says, our job is to make bad people good and good people better. And that's, you're trying to make good people better.
Oftentimes, if you remove the label from the birth parents of, their circumstances, you'll see it. They were parented that way. It's
Right.
a generational thing, and then oftentimes it's a new substance abuse problem or a new issue. I mean, it's different for each family, but so many times we see generational neglect passed down. So we definitely recognize that and realize that people just might not have those resources, or else their children wouldn't be in foster care.
Right. Well, and I think, just as a total outsider, y'all have science and numbers and everything else on your side, but I've seen situations where it'll just be one child. This is rare. There may be 3 or 4 children in this family, and then one child will just decide to take a nosedive or something like that, and that's the one that wanted to get involved, live on the edge, or whatever. And then it seems to me like sometimes that happens, and the parents don't know how to deal with it. I mean, they have nothing in their background that's prepared them to deal with this kind of behavior. And they're as lost as the kid is.
That's true. And those are cases that we're certainly looking towards those relatives to help us with the children while we're helping the parents. And so we hope to, for those situations, the children wouldn't come into foster care.
Right.
I think when you're talking about the outcomes, so many of our foster parents, when they first start, they say, or their concern is getting too attached to the children, and then the loss that they will have if the children have to go back. And one thing that we've been able to see over the years working with foster parents is they become cheerleaders for these parents, and they become really come to an understanding that when you love a child, you want what is absolutely the best for them, and the best thing for any child is for their parent to be healthy and be able to provide them a safe home. So our foster parents here in Covington County, they go above and beyond supporting the parents and modeling for them and just cheering them on, and celebrate every success that the parents have. And when we get to a point in a case and that's the outcome where the foster parents and the parents are working together, you've really see a miracle almost. Natalie and I've said for years, we would love to think that somehow when children are successful, we did something special, but we know that it's our foster parents, that they're in there every day making a difference for these children and making a difference in their life. And when you have good foster parents, your children and their parents have good outcomes.
Folks, we've been talking today with Lisa Seiler and Natalie Benson from DHR about fostering. Now, I want to ask a question. You've got a class that starts, I believe it's Monday night, at your offices over here on the bypass. If it's 2 weeks into the program or 3 weeks, can somebody come to that class, or do they need to start out on sequence to make it work?
If they come, you know, the official answer is you have to be there at every class.
Right.
But we do try to work with people to make up missed classes. Of course, that couldn't be very many.
Yeah.
But if they can't come Monday night and wanted to start the next week, we will work to make those up.
Well, that was kind of what I was concerned about, because our time window preparatory to this class is very short. If they
Right.
can't make it Monday, could they come the next Monday and maybe?
They could. And
Work
we
it
could
out.
make up that first class.
Thank you both. I want to thank y'all for being here. Folks, these folks at DHR do an awful lot of good in our community. And I'm thankful that we have them in our community. I'm thankful that we could have both of y'all on our class on
Thank you
here
for having us.
today
Well,
about
thank you
this.
for letting us come.
There will be a class in foster parenting beginning Monday night at 6 p.m. at the DHR training room out at the DHR building on the eastern, I guess you call it Eastern Martin Luther King bypass. It's in between LBW and Tabby D's. It's a nice building, and they would enjoy parents coming and trying to do that. If you are interested, call Natalie Pinson at 334-427-7933. They'd like to have you here Monday, and you need to get all 10 classes, but if you can't make it this Monday and you contact them by next Monday, they can probably work something out to cycle you through this. They'll talk about the finances, you know, the financial side of it. They're here to help you prepare to be a good foster parent. Let me tell you, foster parents can make a real difference in life. If you're not satisfied with the way you think the world's going, become a foster parent and try to help somebody get on the right path. We'll be back later with more programming, but we thank you for watching us today.